Number 4.
Ole Miss athletic director Keith Carter went on a podcast yesterday and basically said everything you've heard Lane Kiffin say is a lie.
What did he say?
Oh, guys.
I didn't hear any of this.
Well, first off, he's just asked, so Lane Kiffin said that the players were begging him to continue coaching them through the playoff, even though he was leaving for LSU. Is that right? And Keith's like, I don't think that's begging. No, I don't think that's right.
Oh, I saw players posting videos like making fun of him.
Yeah.
At least one that went viral.
Like, just get out. Here's what I believe. And I've learned more about Lane. I know everybody thinks they had Lane Kiffin figured out, and perhaps they did. I've learned more about him in the past week than I thought I knew, because he's showing himself to you. He hears what he wants to hear, and he then uses it how he wants to use it with very little regard for the truth. Do I imagine there were players who were like, come on, coach, you can't leave us. Come on, coach us through the playoff, begging him not to go? Sure. Yeah, if I were one of his players, I would have been doing that. At some point, I would have been like, hey, coach, I don't know if I'm out of line, but
we need you.
We love you, and we don't, what are we doing here? I would have probably tried to have that conversation. I don't doubt that kind of stuff happened. But by all indications, once he made it clear he's going to LSU, the players were like, bro, go. Now. Get out of here. All indications. Multiple players.
Turned your back on us.
Multiple players jumping on social media and saying, bro, we told you to go. We did not beg you. And Keith Carter more or less confirmed that yesterday. He also was asked about Lane saying up until 30 minutes before the team was told Lane's leaving Ole Miss, he still thought he was going to be able to coach the team throughout the playoff. Keith Carter was asked about this. You know what he said? We told Lane Kiffin and his representation weeks ago, the only way you're coaching Ole Miss in the playoff is if you're the Ole Miss coach. If you're the LSU coach, you will not coach Ole Miss. We told him that weeks ago. That was made clear all along. He kept trying to change our mind up until the last minute. But the idea that he didn't find out he wasn't coaching the team until Sunday morning, nonsense. And so you take those two stories, and you got one man saying one thing, he's got a version, and then everybody else has a totally different version. They're like, no, that's not what happened. We did not beg you to stay after you were going to LSU. We told you to leave. We did not leave it open that you might get to coach Ole Miss in the playoff until Sunday morning. We told you weeks ago, but you're still saying the opposite. So at what point do you start to go, is anything this guy says is true? Because also at his press conference, he was saying things like, everybody told me I've got to take the LSU job. Everybody told me I would regret not taking the LSU job. But think about that for a second. Everybody has an opinion on this. Have you read the opinions on the internet? How many people actually think Lane Kiffin did what he was supposed to do here, what he should have done here? Almost nobody. It's like 90-10. Reese Davis, Paul Feinbaum, all these guys who have to sit with Lane Kiffin going forward. They're all like, nah, man, I don't want to hear it anymore about how you're pouring into kids. Get out of here. You are who you are. Almost nobody who speaks about this publicly is like, yeah, man, Lane Kiffin did exactly what he should have done. Almost nobody. But according to Lane Kiffin, everybody who talked to told him to do this. That doesn't make any sense, does it? You know what I believe? Here's what I believe. Everybody Lane Kiffin talked to for weeks, dating back to the day LSU announced they were going to need a new coach. I guarantee you everybody Lane Kiffin talked to said, man, that LSU job is a monster. Best job in the country. Boy, if you could get that one, that's the one you got to get. Because that's a totally normal conversation to have in October, in November, before you finish a season 11-1 and are about to host a college football playoff game. But I'd be curious to know how many people actually told him Saturday night, Sunday morning, Lane, what you ought to do is quit on Ole Miss right now, walk away from your playoff team, and go be the LSU coach. I don't know how many people actually told him to do that. I bet you people told him before it got cemented into this is your set of circumstances. There's only two ways this can go. Your whole ideas and dreams and hypotheticals about, maybe we'll miss the playoff and then I'll win the Egg Bowl and go straight to LSU. That's not your reality. Maybe I can take the LSU job and still coach Ole Miss. That's not your reality. We are here. We've got a decision to make. You either stay at Ole Miss and turn down LSU, and Ole Miss gives you everything they can give you, and you just coach your playoff team. And then you wake up next year and you're at Ole Miss still. That's option one. Option two is you leave right now, you quit on your team, and you go be the next LSU coach, and you burn the thing down on the way out. Those are the only two options here. How many people do you actually told him to burn it down and leave a playoff team? No other coach does this. I don't think most other coaches would. You saw the BYU coach? He turned down a bigger job.
That's right.
In part because it's just like, I can't walk away from what you're asking me to walk away from. That's the way these things will normally go going forward, I believe. When a big boy job, top 5, top 10 job in America opens in this part of the calendar, and the target is a power conference coach, a fellow power conference coach, perhaps at a lesser job, but still in a power conference, and their playoff hopes are still alive, what you saw happen at BYU is what I believe will happen most often. The coach will use the big boy job for leverage, get as much as he can get out of his current school, and then announce that he's staying because he's not quitting on his team. That's the way most of these things are going to go.
Yeah.
That's the way most people think Lane Kiffin should have handled this. It's unfortunate you can't take the LSU job given your circumstances, but you just shouldn't. And maybe it opens again in a few years under different circumstances. Maybe a better job or a different job opens in a few years under different circumstances. But you can't quit on your football team. Not in this way, not in this moment. I think that's what most people probably think. That's what most people are saying publicly. So it defies logic to think that everybody Lane Kiffin talked to told him to do what he did. He hears what he wants to hear. He says what he wants to say, and he uses all of it to provide comfort for himself. It's so much easier to say, I talked to God and God told me I should do this, than it is to say, I just think this is what I should do. Because you're putting it off on he found comfort in putting it off on everybody else. I didn't really know. But when I talked to Pete Carroll, he said, I got to do this. Talked to Nick Saban, he said, I got to do this. Talked to God, he said, I got to do this. I didn't really know, but everybody I talked to said, I got to do this. I don't believe him. I don't think everybody he talked to Saturday night, Sunday morning said, quit on your football team and go to LSU and burn Ole Miss down on the way out and ruin your legacy forever. I don't think people actually told him not that. Not everybody. And I don't think the people who cared about him told him that. Because if you cared about him, you should be able to make him understand what he's actually doing to his legacy. Maybe he doesn't care about that, then he can tell you that. But the idea that everybody was just telling him, go, 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 right now, quit Ole Miss and go right now, abandon your team in the playoff before a home game at Vaught Hemingway, biggest sporting event in the history of Mississippi, quit now and go. I don't think people really told him that. And what Keith Carter and the Ole Miss players are telling us is that everything else he's been saying, or at least lots of the other things he's been saying since he took the LSU job, they're just not true. It's just stuff he's conjured up in his own head.